Hi everyone, Patrick Marks here. Thanks for watching. Today's topic, Disproving Atheism Part 3, Why There Must Be a God. In the first two videos, I explained that I can't accept atheism as true because if I did, I would have to ignore the first principles of logical reasoning. The first principles of logical reasoning can't be denied. In fact, in order to try to disprove a first principle of logical reasoning, you would have to use a first principle of logical reasoning. And that would be self-defeating, sort of like slapping yourself in the face, which is probably not a very good idea. And from the first principles of logical reasoning, we have learned that nothing cannot produce anything. But the universe is full of somethings, full of beings like human beings. So it follows that the universe must have had a cause. Even secular, non-religious, non-theistic scientists agree that the evidence points clearly that the universe must have had a beginning. So prior to this beginning, there must have either been nothing, or there is an eternal something from which the entire universe grounds its existence. So either you believe that absolutely nothing gave birth to absolutely everything for absolutely no reason, or you believe that there is an ultimate source, a something beyond time, space, and matter, an uncaused something which gives ground to the existence of everything else. As contingent beings, it follows that the something from which we ground our existence must be a being, or else our being is grounded on nothing, which is impossible. This leads us to the principle of pure actuality. This explains how God must have no beginning and no end. Think about it this way. There was a time in history when you did not exist. This means that there is a potential for you not to exist. So that must mean that the foundation, the starting point of the entire chain of cause and effect, must have no potential not to exist. It must be eternal in order to be the foundation for the entire chain of cause and effect. All other beings, human beings, animal beings, spiritual beings, are effects, and there must be a cause that never was an effect of anything else and never could be an effect of anything else. That's what a starting point must be. So the ultimate starting point, the first cause of all other beings, must be a being that exists in a pure, actual state of existence. This is why the Bible says that when Moses, the man of God, asked God, "What is your name?" God simply said, "I am." In other words, I simply exist in a pure form. I exist. By saying this, God was explaining, I am the ultimate being. I simply exist. So the Bible's description of God fits with what we have deduced from these first principles. So what else could we deduce from who God must be from these first principles? Well, let's take a look at the first principle of analogy. Every being in the universe is an effect that came from a cause except for God himself. And every effect is something like its cause. In a simple way, you are very much like your parents, who are the cause, not in an ultimate way, of you as an effect. You are human like them. You are a being like them. And you act and look somewhat like them, even though they are not the ultimate cause of your existence. God is. So we are human beings because God is a pure being. We have awareness of our existence because God is pure existence. This leads to the first principles of positive and negative attributes. Think of it this way. You're like your parents, but you're not exactly like your parents. You're not a clone. In the same way, you are a being, but you had a beginning. Therefore, God must be a being too, but since you had a beginning, he could have no beginning in order to be the foundation or the source of your existence, which had a beginning. You change, therefore God must be unchanging in order to be the source of the ability to change. So whatever you and I have, God must be in order to be the source of whatever you and I have. He is the ultimate cause of all of our effects. So summing it up so far, since we owe our existence to a long chain of cause and effect, and since this chain must have a pure source, then we can conclude the following. There must be an intelligent, personal, unchanging source. This source must be a pure being. He must be pure truth, goodness, and beauty in order for there to be truth, goodness, and beauty. This is the description of the God of the Bible. Now, someone might argue that since there's evil in the world, God must be the source of evil too. But this doesn't follow because evil is not a thing in itself. No, evil is only a lack of something that is good. Now, I plan to continue going through the arguments for why God must exist. And I also plan to answer some of the objections that I've seen down in the comments section below. So I encourage you to subscribe to my channel. And in the meantime, be good, don't do anything evil, and I'll see ya next time.